B. Summary of the Battle of Shiffin. After the Battle of Jamal, Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, returned to Kufa. Then, he sent Jarir bin Abdullah al-Bayali to meet Muawiyah, so that he would submit and pay allegiance to him, as had been done by the Muslims in general. But this order was opposed by Muawiyah, who insisted that his demands for Uthman's blood debt must be fulfilled first, then he would submit. In return, he sent a letter about his statement to Ali. Imam Ali rejected this condition, sticking with the reverse order of first obeying, which was reflected in a pledge of allegiance. Only then would he punish the murderers. Then Ali prepared his army to attack the people of Sham, who did not want to submit to the Imam. Likewise, Muawiyah, he prepared his army in Sham. Subsequently, the two great armies met at Shiffin, which had cost 30,000 lives. In the midst of the war, Muawiyah began to feel defeated. Then, on the advice given by Amr bin Ash, Muawiyah thrust his sword into the Quran and raised it high while shouting an invitation to Takim negotiation arbitration. In order to avoid further casualties, Imam Ali accepted the Takim resolution, but the Bedouin Arabs who joined Ali's ranks opposed the decision. Furthermore, they were later called the Qawari. There was an agreement to negotiate between Ali and Muawiyah. From Ali's side, represented by Abu Musa al-Asiyari, while from Muawiyah's side, represented by Amr bin Ash. After going through various diplomacy, an agreement was reached that each camp must first impeach its leaders. Abu Musa al-Asiyari began to impeach Caliph Ali bin Talib. Seeing this, Amr bin Ash did not waste his chance and immediately said, "Indeed, Abu Musa has impeached Ali, then I will appoint Muawiyah as Caliph." Seeing this incident, the people became very excited. At one point Abu Musa swore at Amr bin Ash. Then Ali and his army returned to Kufa, as did Muawiyah, who retreated with his troops to Sham. For the second time, Imam Ali again prepared his army to attack Levant. In the midst of these preparations, Imam Ali was troubled by the Qawari movement, so Imam Ali had to eliminate them first. In 36 AH, for the umpteenth time, he again mobilized his troops, but his call was difficult to realize because the population of Iraq had been divided. It was not until 40 AH that the mobilization of the troops was successful, with a force of 40,000 troops. Before he took military action towards the Levant, Imam Ali was killed. And what has become God's decree will certainly happen. See the Prophet's news about the Battle of Shiffin. Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, reported that the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said, "The hour will not come until there are two groups of Muslims, who both fight a very big battle, and the call of both is the same. Muttafaq alayh." Explanation: this hadith indicates the war that took place between Muawiyah and Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, after the death of Caliph Uthman ibn Affan. Meanwhile, the Prophet's phrase, Dawahuma Wahida, means that each group claimed to be the preacher of Islam. Or, it can also mean that each group stands claiming to be on the right side. At that time, Imam Ali was the Imam and also the most important figure. This was based on the fact that he was the one who was sworn in by the Al-Hil wal-Aqd, the Muslim Representative Council, after Uthman. Thus, those who opposed him were mistaken in their decision-making, but had the excuse of ijtihad. Likewise, with the following hadith narrated from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, he said, "At that time, we moved the bricks to build the Prophet's mosque one by one. Meanwhile, Amr bin Yasir moved them two by two. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, passed by him, and wiped his dust-covered head. He said, 'Da Amr, you will die at the hands of the rebels.'" Al-Bukhari, Ash-Shahi, Hadith, No. 447. Explanation: it is known that Amr ibn Yasir, may Allah be pleased with him, who sided with Imam Ali, was one of the companions who died in the Battle of Shiffin. This indicates that the rebel group in question was the group of Muawiyah, may Allah be pleased with him, and his allies. Key points: the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, indicated that what he said had actually come true. As narrated, he said, this hadith at the time of the construction of the Prophet's mosque. This means that it was said at the beginning of the Hijrah. And it is evident that while fighting in the ranks of the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, or in the Khulafaur Rashidun, Amr bin Yasir always escaped the clutches of death until the Battle of Siffin. Likewise, the use of the word al-Faya, al-Baghiyya rebel group, is a clear indication that the war was a civil war among Muslims. Because the use of the term al-Baghi is not used except for a group of Muslims who oppose the Imam head of state. This hadith also shows how much attention the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, paid to the issue of fitna and the signs of the last days. He used various occasions to warn of the occurrence of these fitna. In addition, he informed the Muslims of future events at the most important moment, which was the building of the mosque. In fact, in another narration, he repeated this warning when Amr was digging trenches for the Battle of Khandak. This hadith also shows the superiority of Amr and Ali radiyallahu anhuma, while also refuting that Ali was not on the right side at that time, because he launched the crackdown. The hadith also shows how compassionate the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was to his ummah. Even when his hand was wiping Amr's head, he did not forget to remind his people who was the right group in the fitna that the Muslims would face. This is proof that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam loved his ummah very much. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri reported that the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, in my ummah there will be two groups, one of which will come out of obedience to the Imam against the other. Later, this opposing group will be crushed by the other group that stands on the right side. Muslim, as Zakah, Hadith No. 1065. Another narration states, opponents will arise from among the Muslims, then those who stand on the right side will crush them. Muslim, as Zakah, Hadith number 1065. Explanation of the Hadith. This hadith indicates the suppression of the Khawari, who deviated from the religion and separated themselves from the Muslims at the time of the conflict between Ali and Muawiyah, may Allah be pleased with him. This hadith explains that it was the group that was foremost and that stood on the right side that would crush this group. And rightly, Imam Ali launched this crackdown. This proves that Ali's group stood on the right side. Indirectly, the reverse logic states that Muawiyah's group was the rebel group. Nonetheless, this hadith also shows that the two opposing sides in the Battle of Siffin were not those who were declared to have fallen away from their faith, and were not even declared to be wicked. What is noteworthy about this issue is that it was only a matter of whether their ijtihad was correct or not. In other words, one of the two groups was right on target, while the other deviated from the truth. Or between the Raji superior and the Marju superior. This hadith and many others, in response to the Battle of Jamal and the Battle of Siffin, do not make any accusations against the two opposing sides. On the contrary, the hadith strongly suggests that what happened was only a difference in the results of ijtihad. And of course, this is accompanied by the Prophet's instructions, which ijtihad is right, and which ijtihad is wrong. And most importantly, neither the wrong nor the right one is at all convicted, as a group that comes out of their Islam or faith. Unlike the Khawari group, the hadiths that mention this group clearly state the accusation that it is the group that deviates from the religion. This can be signaled from the imagery portrayed by the hadiths, their extremism, the strong order to crush them, the order to amputate them from the body of Muslims, and how dangerous this one group is for the existence of Islamic dawah. In turn, this shows the most substantive and principal difference between the internal conflict among the companions and the suppression of the Khawari. Some Atsar closely related to the Battle of Shiffin. Hanzala bin Khuwaylid al-Anzi narrated, "When we were with Muawiyah, suddenly, two people came who were arguing about who was meritorious in cutting off the head of Amr bin Yasir. Each of them insisted that he was the one who cut his neck. So Abdullah bin Amr radiyallahu anhu came forward and said, 'Let one of you give up the matter to the other. For I have heard the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, say that Amr will be killed by the rebels.' Muawiyah immediately interjected, 'Then what are you here with us for?' Abdullah ibn Amr replied, 'My father Amr ibn Ash radiyallahu anhu complained about me to the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. So he advised me by saying, obey your father as long as he lives. This is what made me stay with you, but I did not join the war.' Reported by Ahmad, Baqi Musnad al-Mukatsirin, Hadith No. 6943. Al-Haythami said, this hadith was narrated by Ahmad with Sahih narrators, Maima as Zawaid 7244. From Abu Ghadia, he narrated the following story. When Amr bin Yasir was killed, it was reported to Amr bin Ash. Hearing this, he said, I heard the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, say, verily, whoever kills Amr and takes his property, hell will be his place. So it was said to Amr bin Ash, didn't you fight him yesterday? Amr bin Ash replied, what the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said was, that he killed him and took his property. Remember that. Hr Ahmad, Baqi Musnad al-Mukatsirin, Hadith No. 17792. Al-Haythami said, this hadith was narrated by Ahmad with Sahih narrators, Maima as Zawaid 7244. We say, these two hadith reports shed light on the attitudes and feelings of the companions. Although Abdullah bin Amr was physically with Muawiyah, what he did was solely in obedience to the Prophet's peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Instructions that he should always obey his parent, Amr bin Ash, but his position did not change his feelings towards Amr bin Yasir. In fact, he boldly declared the truth that Muawiyah was the rebel. Thus, his statement in the Atsar does not deny the existence of a form of great disappointment in the death of Amr bin Yasir. Likewise, in the first Atsar, there is an indication of the ignorance of most Muslims regarding maintaining the ethics of war that have been proclaimed in Islamic teachings. The two disputants clearly showed pride before their leader in their success in killing Amr. They did not know that he was a companion who had a great name in the pages of Islamic history. This shows that the fitna had seared the consciences of the common people who participated in the dispute. The same thing happened with his father, Amr bin Ash. Although he became the leader of Muawiyah's army, he still felt deep sorrow for the death of Amr bin Yasir. He even openly said that the one who killed Amr was his place in hell. He said this based on a saying of the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, that he himself had heard. This shows that the hearts of the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, never wavered in their love for one another, even when they were involved in conflicts with one another. At the same time, it gives us a sense that their faith was still alive, so it was only natural that their hearts were always filled with the love of Allah. More importantly, despite the climate of war and the heat of fitna, this did not deter them from speaking out for what was right. This is despite the backlash against them. May Allah be pleased with them all. Yazid ibn al-Asham reported that Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, was asked about the casualties of the Battle of Shiffin. He replied, whether the dead were on our side or on his side, they are both in paradise. The matter is between me and Muawiyah. Hr. Lunyu Abi Shayba, Hadith No. 37880. We say, what Imam Ali said in the above Atsar is also our view regarding the victims who died in the Battle of Shiffin. Such a statement would not have come from the mouth of Imam Ali, but on the basis of his revelation or understanding. It is precisely this kind of statement that will close the door to those who wish to dispute the disputes that took place among the companions. 4. Reason some companions did not participate in the Battle of Jamal and the Battle of Siffin. Abu Bakr reported, Allah, the Almighty, taught me a lesson at the time of the Battle of Jamal, when the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said concerning the Persians who appointed a female king, a people will not prosper if they entrust their affairs to a woman. H.R. al-Bukhari, al-Fitan, Hadith, No. 7099. We say, this answer explains how much knowledge was needed at a time when the fire of fitna was raging. From this answer, we find a companion who was very observant in connecting the hadith of the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, with what was happening with Aisha, who was leading the troops in the Battle of Jamal. Ibn Sirin reported, someone asked Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqash, may Allah be pleased with him, why did you not fight when you were one of the Shura, members of the consultative council chosen by Omar, to determine the caliph after his death, and you would have had more right to fight than anyone else? Sa'd replied, I would not have fought even if I had been given a sword with the tongue, 2 lips, and 2 eyes with which I would have known whether a person was a believer or a disbeliever. I have fought jihad, and I know what jihad is, and I would not put myself forward if I knew that there was someone better than me. Al-Mustadrak, Hadith No. 8370. He said, this hadith is sahih according to the criteria laid down by al-Bukhari Muslim and agreed upon by al-Dahabi. We say, this stance taken by Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqash, may Allah be pleased with him, suggests that the Battle of Jamal and the Battle of Siffin were not wars of jihad for the 2 warring groups. It is better for a Muslim to stay away from these wars than to shed the blood of another Muslim. Husayn ibn Kharija reported, when the first fitna, the Battle of Jamal, confused me, I prayed to Allah, O Allah, show me the right path on which I will rely. After I prayed, I dreamed that I saw the world and the hereafter, separated only by a small barrier. Suddenly, I was in front of the wall. I said to myself, if I were to jump over it once, I would surely fall among the dead of the Banu Asha so that they could inform me. Then I fell on a plain filled with trees. Suddenly, there were some people sitting in front of me. I asked, are you martyrs? They replied, no, we are angels. I asked, then where are the martyrs?